Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. And back on August 1st, the city hired a brand new utilities director. And on today's show, we're going to introduce you to Jim Kendrick, who joins us from Tennessee, where he was the CEO of the Fort Loudon Electric Cooperative for the last 3 years. He has an extensive background in the utilities industry. He has over 30 years of experience that he brings to us here at Danville Utilities. We're really excited to have him on board. Of course, he will be in charge of all of our divisions within Danville Utilities, which incorporates our electric, gas, water, wastewater, and our telecommunications division, which of course handles in Danville our fiber optic network here in the city of Danville. So we're very excited to have Jim joining us on today's City Update. And Jim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.
And welcome to the city of Danville.
Well,
I know.
glad to be here.
You got your feet down and running, I know, because you just came back off a flight from Ohio. We're going to talk a little bit more about the AMP Ohio partnership that we have with Danville Utilities. I know our viewers are familiar with that, but we appreciate you joining us on today's show.
Appreciate you having me here.
And I know you started on August 1st, so how has it been so far, the first 3 weeks? Just kind of getting implemented the processes here within Danville Utilities?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. We've had a lot on the table. You know, as you go into any organization right off the bat, you got a lot to look at, organizational structure, personnel issues, names, just like yours, Mark, and all the different departments within the city government.
Yeah, I was saying this is your first go at it within a municipality, right?
That's correct.
For our viewers who may not be familiar with a co-op, can you just explain that a little bit? Is there a difference between municipality and a co-op when it comes to utilities?
Well, a little bit of difference. You know, cooperatives are member-owned. Yeah. And they started back in the early, well, about 1930s and 40s, according to what part of the country you were in.
Right.
And, you know, they vary in size from just a few thousand to, you know, tens of thousands across the country. I think there's roughly 800 or 900 of cooperatives across the United States. Okay, very good. Now, I know
received your degree from Ohio University and went straight to Kentucky Power, where you spent about 20 years there. Can you tell me a little bit about your time over in Kentucky?
Well, you know, I kind of started at the bottom and started out as an engineering technician in the engineering department at Kentucky Power, based in Pikeville, Kentucky, and spent a couple of years there learning engineering design work on distribution circuits, transmission work, and then after a while I decided that I wanted to try to go over into the line side, so I became a lineman. So actually climbed the poles and did the work hands-on and progressed through those ranks.
And I think that probably benefits you now, being a director, and of course being CEO in your previous position, knowing the ins and outs of the utilities.
Well, it does. I mean, you get used to working with all the departments. You got accounting, finance, billing, customer service, engineering. You know, there's all these different departments, protection and control. So you get a broad picture of the total organization by coming up through the ranks.
Very good. Now, before you left Kentucky Power, I think you went on to AEP, but what was the last position you held there at Kentucky Power as you made your way up after lineman?
Well, I worked, of course, Kentucky Power was an affiliate, just kind of like Appalachian Power was, of AEP. AEP was a 7-state member at that time. It's since grown through a merger out west to 11 states now. But my last position was as a project manager over work management systems for the first for transmission organization and distribution organization across the 11-state region. Okay, now tell me a little bit about that for our viewers, kind of in layman's terms. What are some of the projects that you worked on being a project manager there? Well, you know, I started back, it was just kind of just a random thing, but I was approached back in early about 1990 about a small project that they had me in mind for, and I had a MIS minor, Management Information Systems minor, back in those days. And they said, we got this 6-month project we want you to work on. And I said, oh, great, that sounds like a lot of fun, you know. And so that 6 months turned into many years. But it was automating field processes for distribution operations and transmission, trying to streamline American Electric Power's total overall operations. And streamline, when I say streamline, I mean through process efficiencies, through technology, using technology to better utilize resources within the organization. Right. Now, is that some of the things you hope to implement here within Danville Utilities? Oh, absolutely. You know, it's when you're an investor-owned utility, you know, these are multi-million-dollar corporations,
Right.
and they cover many, many states. And when you come down to a smaller level, like a municipality or a cooperative, for an example, you know, they don't have all the resources that investor-owned utilities have. So it takes a whole lot. You know, the technology prices have come down, but those same technologies will make more efficiencies, better use of the utilization of resources for even the small companies as
Right.
municipalities and cooperatives.
Very good, great. Now, as you grew there at AEP, and you became, after you left, you became a consultant. Is that correct, for a couple of years? Can you tell me a little about that? I know you worked with a lot of IT professionals within a lot of utilities across the country.
Well, there again, you know, a lot of the businesses, investor-owned utilities such as Florida Power and Light, Duke Energy, Kentucky Utilities, Louisville Gas and Light, and I even had the opportunity to work at Pacificor out west with Utah Power when it was Utah Power and Pacific Power. We're all looking for competitive advantages, trying to streamline operations and reduce costs for customers, and that's where my background is, and I'm very proficient in that end of the business. Right. So they brought me in to work with them to try to streamline their own operations.
Can you give our viewers a little insight into some of the processes that maybe you may utilize here to streamline a process or two, just some as examples? Well,
you know, we kind of, the part of using technology is to try to do more with less. You know, we try to do that at all aspects, at all levels of the organization. So we can use, for an example, you know, field technologies, mobile applications in trucks where we can respond quicker, more efficient, and with less personnel. And those are some of the efficiencies that you can gain through like one-man service crews and such.
Okay. Now, what really piqued your interest within Danville Utilities when you started looking around? Why Danville?
Well, Danville, you know, had a lot of opportunities. You know, a great situation to where, you know, I looked at their overall organization, and Mr. King gave me the opportunity to look at that. I looked at it, and it was very progressive. You all have done a lot of the right things and going in the right direction, and that was one of the things that impressed me about Danville, was you were already moving in that direction, preparing for the future.
Now, I know your background's in the electric side of it. Are you looking forward to working with gas, water, wastewater, and even telecommunications here in the city?
Well, I am. You know, I've met with the staff already, and we've had discussions, and, you know, you have a very capable staff. And I feel very confident in working with them as a team. You know, I like to build teams, and that's part of the overall goal of our organization, is to make that team stronger and help the community, the outlying reaching areas, move forward.
Right. Now, I know you've only been on the job now for 3 weeks, but as you look forward, what are some of the things you would like to implement within the next 6 months or so, you would say?
Well, you know, most of my emphasis is in cost of service, and we know that, you know, the rates of energy, the cost of energy is not going to go down. It's like any other resource. You know, there's a lot of competition out there on the world markets for those type of resources, and we're having to compete globally, and those costs are going to rise, as we all know. And our emphasis is on communications and education and trying to streamline our operations so we can become more cost effective for our customers.
Great. Well, you talked about cost for service. That leads me right into my next question, is rates. And of course, our viewers still probably need a better understanding of how we do purchase power. We talk about it every time we have a member of Danville Utilities on the show, but just as a refresher for our viewers, we do purchase power on the open market, kind of like the stock market. Can you explain that to our viewers?
Well, you know, every utility is a little different. You go to investor-owned utilities like American Electric Power, you know, they're their own generation and transmission company, so they don't have the issues that we do.
Right.
Cooperatives, they purchase from, for an example, where I came from the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, which is a government entity, but they do the generation transmission, and we purchase from them with a wholesale power agreement. Okay. And the same is with this municipality here. They have to purchase power somewhere, and here it is AMP, the American Municipal Power Association or company, and you know, they do their generation, and we purchase from that. It's on the open market, but Mr. King and the staff and the council at Danville has been very proactive in moving forward instead of trying to buy on the open market, which is very, well, sometimes it can be very costly because it's speculative, and you know, it's kind of like that you said, stocks, and it can go up and down according to the seasons, according to the weather patterns, cost of energy, fuels, oils, gas, and it's very up and down. It's just, as you say, like the stock market.
Right.
But you know, Danville's moving forward. They're investing in their own generation, so they don't have to purchase as much out on the open market to levelize those pricing for their customers. Because
our partnership with ANT, they are generating. They've got some facilities online and construction under under construction a couple other places as well. And I know you recently just made a trip, I guess your second week here, you made a trip up to the monthly meeting with Tampa High. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Very surprised, very informative. It was an eye-opener for me, looking at the projects that are in place and being constructed now. There was a coal-fired fossil fuel generation plant in Illinois that was being constructed almost online now, ready to go online.
Right.
And coming from the coal fields, it kind of fascinated me a little bit.
Yeah.
When coal-fired plants are being, reduced right now. And a lot of hydroelectric projects along the Ohio River, which hydro, is a very cost-effective alternative for energy. So, I was very surprised about that.
Very good. Now, we generate a small portion of our electricity here in the city of Danville through the Pinnacles plant, a very small portion. But as we look to the future, percentage-wise, what would we like to see for generation here in the city of Danville providing our own power?
Well, the portfolios are going to vary. Tennessee Valley Authority, for an example, they're trying to restructure their whole portfolio of fuel supplies. It will depend on, it'll vary. I really don't have a grasp on that currently.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move somewhere because totally, I saw some numbers somewhere the other day where we're mothballing like 7% of total U.S. Generation through fossil fuels.
Right.
And if you're reducing 7%, we have to bring that back up because energy usage is not being reduced, it's increasing, as we all know.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to look for alternatives, and there again, it kind of surprised me through the hydro projects along the Ohio River, which will help Danville and the participants in the AMP program. Right. So I'm not sure how that portfolio is going to pan out right now. A lot of, there's a lot of emphasis on wind and gas and other technologies, and so I think it's kind of, it's an exciting time as far as those go.
Right.
But we'll just have to see how those plan out.
Very good. And now I know when we look into gas, you hadn't got into the gas aspect of it yet, but we do have some of the lowest rates in the region when it comes to gas. So looking forward to keeping that going. I know we're signing into some contracts there on the gas side of things to keep those rates low for our customers as well. Well, Jim, we're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the major projects that are underway. Of course, our AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure project that we've implemented here in the city of Danville. I know you're familiar with. We'll touch on that and some of the ways we can utilize that technology as we move forward here in the city of Danville. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
These are the children who had no chance. They're known as Brazil's street kids. They wander the streets dying by the thousands from drugs, AIDS, and bullets. Most of them have been abandoned, left to survive on their own. These children needed a place to go. I had to do something. So I brought it up at Rotary. People heard about what we were doing and asked how they could help. Together, we raised funds to give them a home and open the school. They're learning a trade. Now hundreds of kids have a family and a future. They're contributing to the community because Rotary believes in making things better for everyone.
Rotary is making a difference right now.
They have hope.
Rotary gives people an opportunity to help.
Well, welcome back to this week's edition of the City Update. I'm your host, Mark Aaron, Multimedia Design Manager for the City of Danville. And joining me today is our new Director of Utilities here in the City of Danville, Jim Kendrick. And Jim, we talked a little bit about your past in the first half of the show. I know a wealth of knowledge you bring to the table here at Danville Utilities, over 30 years of experience in the electrical side of utility operations. And I know you're looking forward to get the ball rolling in all the other divisions within Danville Utilities. And I do want to touch on some of the ongoing projects that are taking place here in the city. I know you're getting implemented to all of these projects as we speak. You've only been on the job now for 3 weeks, so we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today and talk to our public about your goals for the future at Danville Utilities. But one of these projects is the Advanced Metering Infrastructure project, and I know you've dealt a lot with streamlining operations, working with technology, so I'm sure when you were looking at this position, that really had to pique your interest.
Well, it actually did. From the company that I came from before, we were actually looking at a new AMI system because we only had a one-way system, and it was early technology. Technology, as we all know, is like a smartphone. You know, I can remember the days when, man, you probably can too, when we had the large cell phones. Yeah. And with that technology, it changes too, and it's getting better and better in the information, and we can all use that information to our advantage. And part of that is a two-way communication system. It's very effective. Danville had already implemented that two-way communication AMI system. So it's going to help us out along down the road when we implement different programs to our customers, and we can better communicate with in-home appliances. We can give them better information to their energy usage so they can control their energy consumption better. So that's all coming as technology evolves. That will be some of the things that we'll be offering.
So when you say two-way communication, we can actually communicate to that appliance?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Very
exactly. Good. I mean, this is far-reaching down the road. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like the future, but you know, we'll be able to even communicate with devices in the home.
Okay.
So we could actually, if we needed to, we could communicate with hot water heaters, which that's already been accomplished in certain areas of the country, where they can actually shed load through turning hot water heaters off through that technology now.
So a great way for energy conservation techniques. Very good. Okay. Now, what we have implemented now, for our viewers who may not be familiar with the project, I know it allows us to now bill, I think, in some of the outer reaching parts of the district. We can bill once a month now to the county residents, where we used to have to bill twice a month because our meter readers couldn't reach those outlying areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, I was unfamiliar with those billing cycles. All the billing cycles that I've been accustomed to over my 34-year career has always been monthly, so it was kind of new to me. So this was just trying to get everybody on the same page on a monthly cycle.
Okay, so now we're able, with this software, we're able to read the meters from another location. We actually do not have meter readers that go out and meter readers now, right?
Correct. Very effective way to do meter reading. Saves you a huge amount of money. You don't have trucks moving, personnel moving. It's very cost effective and pays for itself in a very short amount of time.
And then also when it comes to maintenance, we can receive an alarm if we have a meter that's out or experiencing issues, and we can troubleshoot that very easily.
Absolutely. It's just like a computer. You know, you hear pinging.
Right.
We can ping the meters. We can look at the information, the usage, daily, hourly. So when a customer calls in and says, it's very effective on the customer service side of it, because if a customer calls in and they say, well, you know, my bill has went up an extreme amount, you know, what could be the problem? We can actually look at their usage, hourly, daily. Any irregularities that may show up, abnormalities, that there could be something wrong with their equipment. We've found all kinds of problems utilizing that technology.
Great. Well, another major project that's undergone, we just had a ribbon cutting about a month ago. I'm sure you've heard about this, our new transmission points here in the city, providing us more opportunity to bring in future companies when it comes to economic development. And I know that's big here in the city of Danville when it comes to economic development, working closely with our utilities department, having enough power to provide to those companies that want to locate here in the city of Danville. Tell me a little bit about that, and that infrastructure and being up to date is a very important part of, I know, what you want to implement here in the city.
Well, it's probably one of the most important things you can have. I know when I was in Tennessee, we had to turn a number of potential industrial customers away, because when industrial customers come calling and they're looking for a site to put their industry, they want to know that the infrastructure is in place and they can proceed immediately. They don't want to have to hear, you know, because some of these infrastructures can take years to put in place.
Right.
So we had to turn away a couple of large industrial customers just because we did not have that infrastructure in place, and that's the last thing you want to do, is to lose those type of jobs. So we're very fortunate here in Danville that we have those infrastructures in place. That way, if a corporation comes in and they need to provide services, water, wastewater, gas, and power, we can provide that.
And then also, if we have any outages in a certain point, we have those transmission points that can pick up the slack if we have an outage, and these companies won't receive an extended period of outages. Is that correct when it comes to transmission points?
Well, we do. We have 3 interconnect points between AEP, and then we also have a mobile app, or mobile transformer was what we call it, and where we can actually wheel it in and for emergency basis and put it back on if we had a catastrophe, you know, those kind of situations.
Now, what are some of the other benefits to having these new transmission points in the city of Danville?
Well, it reduces costs. Of course, you know, if you can take delivery, of course, it's very technical, but at a 138 kV point, you know, it's very more cost effective than taking it like at a 69 or lower voltages. So we try to do everything we can do to reduce our cost.
Okay, very good. Now, when it comes to energy conservation and getting the word out to our customers and citizens here in the city of Danville, ways they can save, there's a variety of things that we currently do, but I know you really want to look into expanding how we reach our customers.
Well, I think that's the most important thing moving forward. Like I said earlier in the program, you know, we know that the cost of energy is not going to go down, and we've got a responsibility, but our customers also have a responsibility to reduce their usage. And they can do that through, you know, installation, in-home evaluations, energy audits. We're going to look at a broad spectrum of services that we can offer to our customers to try to help them reduce their usage. And that's going to be the key, is we're going to have to change our lifestyles. You know, It's just like when I leave my office, I turn the light switch off. If I'm gone from the house for a couple of days, I kick the breaker for my hot water heater. You know, all those efforts is we're going to have to alter our lifestyles, whether we want to or not, because we're, like I said earlier, we're competing globally, and the resources are becoming very scarce. So we'll have to do our part.
Do our part, definitely. Now, I know we have a very extensive website that has a lot of great information on it, danvilleutilities.com. Nate Lewis has worked closely on that site over the last year, updating that and providing a lot of information on there. Ways to save. As we look into the colder months that will be upon us very soon, what are some ways that our citizens can save on their energy usage here in the city of Danville?
Well, I think, you know, it's kind of like myself at my own home. You know, I turn the thermostats down. I think we're going to have to get accustomed to maybe putting a sweater on. You know, I used to have to get on to my small children when they were younger. They wanted to run around the house with nightgowns and such on. I said, well, you know, we've got to put more clothes on. But like I say, when I talk about changing our lifestyles, we're going to have to do certain little things that can help us reduce our cost, and through that we can turn the thermostats down, turn light switches off, replace our bulbs to CFLs, fluorescent ones, and those type of things, the simple things. And also, you know, we used to have customers that lived in modular homes, manufactured homes. And, you know, those ductworks tend to come off the registers sometimes, you know, and their bills will go up higher in the wintertime. And we would tell them, have you checked your ductwork to make sure that it's all up? And they'd go underneath and look, and sure enough, you know, the ductwork maybe had fallen down because they have ties. But those type of simple things.
Well, now I know probably you dealt with this in Eastern Tennessee. We have an older housing stock here in the city of Danville, and you're talking about modular homes. How do we address that issue in weatherizing these older homes? Because I know blight's a big issue here that we're trying to tackle in the city of Danville, and we want to weatherize these homes because individuals are living in a home that's maybe 70 or 80 years old, and electric bills are high, but we need to decrease the energy uses that these individuals use. How do they do that in these older homes here in the city?
Well, there again, it's down to insulation. You know, I used to build houses on the side many years ago. You know, it's about an R factor, trying to re-insulate, going up in the attic and evaluating what you have currently, and how can you build on that. You know, and hopefully that's part of what we're going to be able to offer, is to go out to our customers and say, you know, we'll look at what you have and try to help you reduce our costs.
That's my next question. Is that something we're looking into the future here at Danville Utilities to implement, something where we can assist the customers when it comes to weatherization?
Absolutely. You know, that's my goal, is to try, like I say, assist our customers, because that's what we're here for. We're to help our customers. And, you know, times are getting very rough, economic conditions and such, and we realize that there's some people that, you know, need some assistance, and we're going to try to help them do that.
Great. Well, Jim, I appreciate you coming on today's show, but I do want to touch on, as we look forward, I did ask you in the first half of the show, maybe 6 months, a year down the road, what are some of the goals that you have here at Danville Utilities in the first year here?
Well, my goal is just to make sure that people realize that we're here to help. I mean, we truly are. I mean, we're a service. We provide a service to our customers, and we want to provide that best service that we can. And we're going to continue to look at our cost of service. That's my most emphasis right now, is cost of service, and trying to keep or maintain that level cost of service to where it's affordable to all. And when I say affordable energy, that's what I truly mean. And we're trying to relay that information all the way up to Washington currently, because there's legislation in the House and the Senate, the Environmental Protection Agency, Clean Air Acts, that's going to affect the next generations, many generations to go. So we're trying to educate the public, to talk with their representatives or senators and say, hey, we need affordable cost of energy, and that's what we're going to try to do here at Danville too. Very good. Now, when we talk about lowering our customers' bill and their energy usage, trying to make them more aware of the energy usage in their home, is there money out there on the federal, state level? I know we've received some grants recently. I know we're working closely with our Housing and Development Division on
weatherization program that we hope to implement in the next 6 months or so. And we'll touch on that at a later date. But is there money out there on the federal level that can assist us to do this sort of thing?
Well, there is. You know, I'm not sure where it's at now. Currently, when I left the federal government, I did work for the federal government for a little bit of a time with the Rural Utility Service, which fell under the USDA. But the USDA does have some programs in place for the energy efficiency programs, so I'm sure that we'll be looking into that also.
Well, touch on a little bit about your time there with the federal government. I'm sorry I missed that point when we were going over your career statistics, but tell me a little bit about your time with the government.
Well, I worked for the Rural Utility Services Agency, which falls under the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And I was responsible for the whole state of Tennessee, working with cooperatives across all the way from Memphis to Mountain City, North Carolina, right on the border. But part of my emphasis was to help rural America, and that's kind of where I got interested in going into the rural areas and trying to help or assist what I could in those areas.
Very good. Well, Jim, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and we're very excited the vast knowledge that you bring to the table here at Danville Utilities. You've worked with a lot of electric companies over your 30 years here. And we really appreciate your interest in the city, and we're glad to have you on board, and we look forward to the many projects that you plan to implement here in the city of Danville.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you at home for watching. Again, if you would like any more information about ways to save, log on to the Danville Utilities website, danvilleutilities.com. There's a lot of great information, especially as we head into those brutal winter months here in the city of Danville. There's a lot of great information on that site that you can utilize. So until next time, have a great day.